Good morning, everybody. And we're live again, Mike. Hey,
Good morning. How are you?
I am fantastic. Fantastic. You know, if I'd be any better, I'd be twins. You
Yeah,
don't
if I
know
had
how
a
to
cloning machine, I would just a bunch of Izzigators, just bang, 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 just because that's what my cloning machine would do, is would say bang, bang, like
Oh,
some 50s
okay.
cartoon. Yeah.
That's the name of it's like what was that cartoon the old Batman? When there was the poof and pow and
Yeah.
yeah, that was funny. Well, you,
Yeah.
you were extremely young back then, though. You're
No, man,
born
I'm
in the
57.
80s, right?
No, I'm 57. I got Avon lady, wrinkle cream. All right. Are you jealous? Sound
Yes,
jealous.
yes, yes.
You're funny. No, no, no. I must have had a memory like my youngest daughter, because she can remember yeah, she's gonna remember what happened, like, when she was born. It's creepy. I don't want a memory that good. Like, "Hey, I remember you seeing you for the first time, dad." I'm like, "No, nobody should have a memory that good."
How old is she
I can't
now?
remember.
5?
Oh, 5 going on 72. She We should have put her in a nursing home and not the dadgum daycare, 'cause she feels more comfortable with yours. Um No, I'm not kidding. COVID babies are weird. So they grew up in the house with grandma and everything. So now I
Yeah.
took her to the playground and she's like, "Oh," she's telling other kids to be, careful and not go up the ladder that way. I'm like, "No, you're supposed to do stupid things." So yeah, I would love to see a research study on these COVID kids because they are a different breed, man. They're
My
something
God.
else. Mine is.
Well, yeah, but we're gonna no, on a serious note though, in regards to COVID kids, we're gonna be studying the effect of COVID on all humans for a long, long time to come. I mean, come on. This wasn't normal. This was just not normal. All right, I said that to somebody today. My business was closed for 15 weeks the first wave and 35 weeks for the second wave. It's just, you can't shut down the world like this and think it's not going to have an effect on the humans. So, the audience, if you're wondering what the hell happened to me, that's what happened to me. No, no, I'm just kidding.
Hey, well, that's a good segue into our guest because how do you navigate life's garbage? And how
With
do you rise
Lisa.
above when everything gets destroyed? It wasn't your fault. This
With
lady knows it.
Lisa.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. So, roll the intro, dude, and let's bring her up.
let's do it.
Yeah. Business is no longer only about products and services. More than ever, it's about connection and community. Business is about people. And that's why I created these live events. Every week, join me in discovering one remarkable individual. No shop talk here. It's about who they are and not what they do. My name is Isabel Fortin, and welcome to People, Passion, and Purpose. Guys, I'm so excited because, truth be told, this is my first conversation with Lisa, but I have been looking forward to this conversation for such a long time because I have heard nothing but great things about her. So, without further ado, please welcome my guest for today, Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
I'm making a kapow entrance.
Oh,
Bam!
oh, that was so funny.
Oh, I was laughing my head off in the background, and Izzy Gator and all of these cloning, and it's so funny.
Mike calls me Izzigator because he says that I am his emotional wellness alligator. So
and
since my
regulator.
yeah, and so since my nickname is Izzy, he calls me his Izzigator, and that's so funny because only Mike can come up. Oh, Excuse me, emotional support
Support
alligator.
alligator.
Excuse me, people. I sit corrected. Lisa, how are you today? You're all the way from Tomorrowland.
I am in Tomorrowland, yes. It's fantastic here down under. The future is always bright in my eyes
Oh,
anyway.
you're my kind of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in autumn, so you're slowly going towards your winter.
Yes, correct. And I'm in the northern end
Yeah, you're in
of
Brisbane, aren't you?
yeah, I'm actually an hour north. It's called the
Okay.
Sunshine Coast. How appropriate. It truly is. It's a thing. And so we have a very moderate temperate climate here and very humid in summer, but just uh, oh gosh, I don't know the difference from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Mike
Yeah,
may be able to work it
I'm
out.
in Canada. I'm in Celsius.
Okay, oh, fantastic. Well, anything below 25 Celsius for
Yeah.
me, and yeah, I'm not happy. So that's why I live in Queensland.
Oh, you would not love my country.
No, I believe it gets
No.
below ridiculous there, like
Oh,
minus
yeah, like
40 and
yeah,
beyond,
yeah,
and
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. Mind you, this our winter, like we're slowly going towards our summer. Our winter is this past winter was actually not that much snow and not that cold. I
Yes,
think the coldest we got was -18, but um last year we got like -39 wind chill factor. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, 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 and that's not rare. Yeah, it's not
Hey,
rare. And I have
your face freezes off.
yeah, well, you cover it. I've lived the colder that I have been in is -55.
Mm.
So Celsius for the Americans listening up, just Google it. That's what we do for Fahrenheit. So it's your turn.
Yeah,
So,
true story.
it's enough that we have to, everybody is doing Celsius. So, you correct yourself. Lisa, I was so happy. I don't even remember how we got to talking the first time through chat because this is our first live conversation. And
Correct.
then everybody has been praising how wonderful you are and how, positive and full of information and all that good stuff. And I did say positive, but it's worth mentioning a second time. And well, any friends of Mike and any friends of Melissa is a friend of mine, right? So that's
Yes,
why I wanted to invite you on my show.
thank you.
So it's the same thing as usual for the folks listening in. First question, dead or alive, ideally someone you actually knew. I don't, not that I want to minimize the impact on God or whatever
Yeah.
religious beliefs we have on our lives, but I prefer to stick it to humans we actually knew. Who has had the most influence on your life and why?
That is such a loaded question. And I'm going to put a different slant to positive because um, positive can be taken in all rah rah, nothing's ever sucky.
Yeah.
But that is so untrue. What I live with is a very high driven level of optimism.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I have major wobbles in my life, and when you live on the side of optimism, it's the glass half full, of course. Then you're
Yes.
always in problem solving mode, and so that helps you just look at the positive in really crappy situations,
Mm. Yeah.
which which is, I guess, leading into the question you asked me, and this is I'm going to give you the most positive, impactful, influential person
Okay.
after I tell you the most positive, impactful, catastrophic person in my life, who was my mother.
Oh.
And she had very violent psychiatric illness. So my
No.
entire life was fear,
Mm.
survival, hiding, um, and just gosh, uh, wondering why my other friends' lives were not like mine. My mother was in and out of psychiatric
Mm.
wards as I was growing up. There were always law enforcement involved, and I became so disconnected that and withdrawn in that I almost became an observer to my life.
Mm.
And when you're an observer, you look at things in a very different way to being subjective. And I always had a really deep inner knowing that this was not how my life was going to be forever. Even as a little child, I felt like somehow I'm going to get out of this and be able to help people not have the same trauma and suffering.
Mm.
And so that was really as a young, like I'm talking 5, 6 years old. And so there was neglect, there was poverty, there was substance abuse, there was violence. So, you know, there was, I grew up with literally my survival button turned on hard, even into my young adulthood. And I really think it was probably moving into my 40s that I started to, even though I've done lots of personal development, I started to become my true self. And what I learned, like the most influential person in my life, was to do everything completely opposite to what my guide, my child guide, was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so people often don't talk about how they take a horrible situation, but look for all the lessons in that. And because that is influential, that is impactful in your life. If you take out of that how you can be a better human and do better things. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
so the most positive influential person in my life, so the living in survival and the hormones of stress forever, I created catastrophic health problems. I'd been chopped up by surgery 18 times. I had multiple systemic autoimmune diseases. And so by the age of 33, when I was bedridden, I tried out a couple of abusive husbands as well, you know, just to,
yeah, just for good
yeah,
measure.
just to keep the
Yeah,
cycle
yeah, yeah.
going,
For
because
you know, yeah. Yeah, for good
that's
measure.
what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And in my little naivety, because I worked really hard, I was very driven. I was always driven for success. And in the snapshot of that, it's success underlying when you have self-worth issues is actually for significance. So so people cheer you on and you get attention and all these things, all the things that I didn't get as a kid. And so I had a couple of investments because I was never going to be poor. Like I grew up in that, I was never going to happen. And so I had a couple of investment properties, and my second husband very very cleverly convinced me with his bank manager to go guarantor for him in his small business. So bless the banks, they falsely elevated the value of my properties by double. I had to remortgage everything all over again. His business went broke. We split up. I was left homeless with a $500,000 debt facing bankruptcy. So that was that. This was all before the age of 33. So I packed a lot into it. And then my life changed. I decided that because somebody asked me, I moved into wellness. I went out of Western medicine. I was a medically trained, a medical scientist in diagnostic pathology, also looking for my own health solutions. So I was, I left that because I am not aligned with the sick care industry and the pharmaceutical industry. And I went into wellness for my own solutions. I became a holistic health practitioner. And in that world, I was exposed to very high level personal development because I needed to start growing. I was looking for a way to heal myself. And even though I was introduced to metaphysics when I was a teenager and meditation, Tai Chi, all that stuff, it wasn't really impactful until I started to go deep within and look within myself. And in my world of high level personal development, I was very blessed to be mentored by Mr. Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' teacher. And Jim, I not only was I able to meet him many times, the 10,000 hour rule, like the hundreds of thousands of hours of audio tapes and just reprogramming my brain with that philosophy of having an unlimited mind, and you can be anything and do anything, have anything that you truly want. And as I started to grow into that personal development person, I started to feel it and live it and believe it. Whereas before, I was just sort of grinding and hustling and walking in cement shoes saying, yeah, I'm going to make it. Yeah, I'm positive. That doesn't work.
No. Affirmations don't work.
Ah,
Because just throwing words out there, you got to believe them. And that's a personal opinion, but fake it till you make it is a load of crap.
yes.
If you're trying to convince yourself, it's not going to work. Now, if you put the right emotion behind it, then it's going to work. It's all emotion is how you connect to it's a vibration thing. It's how you connect to creating what you want. If all you're going to do is, I used to have a client, and I just want to share this story. I used to have a client, I was talking to her about gratitude, and in my workshop, I had said it's not enough to say that you're grateful and what you're grateful for. You have to say why you're grateful, because why is how you connect the emotion to the gratitude, and then you start feeling grateful. She'd been doing that for about 6 weeks, and then we're having a one-on-one, and she's saying, and this gratitude, and she was upset with me. Well, she wasn't upset with me, but she was upset. She
There
was
was
lashing out.
resistance.
Yeah, she was, I was the person it was coming to. And she's like, and this gratitude shit doesn't work. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, do you mind going through how you practice your daily gratitude? And she says, well, I do what you told me to do. Like I had given her an order, right? So she started, saying that she took a piece of paper and she would just like in grade school, I will not do this. I will,
Yeah.
so, and I am grateful for this and I am grateful for that. And I said, yeah, but why? And she was like, well, what do you mean why? She kind of obviously had blocked that off, but it was like, no, it's the feeling.
Yeah.
It's the feeling of gratitude.
Yes.
That's, yeah.
I totally agree with you. Just chanting it is it's if you're in a negative state, it's actually possibly even going to reinforce a positive saying with a negative emotion.
Yes.
And so I had this conversation with Mike, and he came into one of my master classes where I was actually talking about the process of manifestation and affirmation, and I spoke about the neuroscience behind it and the emotional response happening in your body. And so you are 1,000% correct in the fact that because affirmations is to affirm something, to believe it, and
Yeah.
so if you believe something, you've got high emotion attached to that.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and when it's done correctly, you can literally reprogram.
Extremely powerful.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
When done correctly, that's
Yeah.
an important reframing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you spoke about your mother and how by being well, obviously she was ill, but by being a quote unquote bad example, she became a good example. But that was you, because you said, no, I'm going to take that lemon and I'm going to add a lot of sugar and maybe a little bit of vodka and I'm going to make something delicious out of it. And I, that's a choice. You
Yeah.
said the right word. That's a choice. We
Yeah.
all have all of the answers are always inside. And I mean, they're accessible. Sometimes we need somebody else's help to access them
Yeah.
because we need the mirror,
Yeah.
but it's inside. It's an inside job.
Yes.
And if you're not willing to take accountability for what you created, and if you're not willing to give yourself grace for the patterns of survival that you created for yourself because you needed them at the time, then you're going to stay stuck. And that's unfortunate.
Yes.
So I
And
love that.
and without getting too emotional, whew,
It's okay if you do.
there was a moment when I was a late teenager. I could have been, it was before I went into the army, so it must have been maybe 16 or 17. And my sister and I had to have a meeting with her psychiatrist, and it was without her there. And he said, girls, you've got two options. You can either completely disconnect and cut all ties with your mother forever, or you can stay and perish. Of course, I disconnected. So I'm in my 50s now, and I've had no contact with her since I think I was about 20. And in fact, I've had no family. So, talk about the Lone Ranger. It only serves you for a short time
Yes.
because you can't be successful and fulfilled as an island. I was successful, but without the fulfillment. And that's a completely different story. But my sister committed suicide last October. She never grew out of the darkness.
Yeah.
And she chose to stay connected. And or if you didn't know, she actually became her because of the constant looping and running of the stuff over and over and over again. You become your thoughts.
Yes.
And so that's a choice point as well.
Yes. Well, first of all, for having somebody in my family that committed suicide, I am extremely sorry for your loss, because the only way, and perhaps that's not how you feel, for me, the only way that I found to express exactly how I felt when she committed suicide is I would tell people she murdered herself.
Yeah.
Because to me, the degree of violence that it takes is a murder. That's what
Yeah.
it is. It's a homicide.
Yeah.
I know we put a quote unquote cuter word on it, but that's what it is. It's a murder.
Oh no, she killed herself over and over and over and
Yeah.
over again until she was successful.
Until
And
she died.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she died many years ago, but she was only buried in October.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's profoundly sad.
And I truly believe that, from my spiritual beliefs, is that she got to a point where she was creating so much more negative karma for her and her family that
Yeah.
it was time to go. And so the interestingly, her children have come back together. I've now got contact with them, and so we were all very separated in her life, but we are very
Coming back
well
together.
connected now together in her death. And so the cycle of life is fascinating, and you've got to you've got to look beyond the surface of our humanness to really go within. And and I think the people who choose to look at all of the adversity as a lesson and wisdom, the true hero's journey comes when you actually make it part of your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. And I'll take a minute to share a story. When I was the person that committed suicide, when I was at her funeral, one of her coworker came to, give me her condolences, and she was crying. So I was holding her. I gave her a big hug, and she was really sobbing. She had started working at the company the same day, and they had become really, really close. And so for her, it was something very difficult, and I understood that. And the only thing that she whispered in my ear is, "I don't understand." And the only thing that I found to tell her is, "Thank God." Because if you did understand, that means you would live your life in that kind of despair.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand, that means you haven't touched that despair.
Yes.
And hopefully there's no yet in this sentence.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
So yeah, thank God. And it's interesting because you said something earlier about, like coming into your own in your 40s. And it was the same thing for me. Like the biggest aha moment I had in my life, I was 37. And I believe that that's pretty much when we start becoming exactly who we are. And I'll add a big if here, if we've done the work.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
key, is if you've done the work.
Yes.
And the work is not fun to do, and that's why people avoid it.
Yeah, it's messy.
Yes,
Um,
it's
it's
uncomfortable.
you roll around in it quite a lot
Yeah,
until you just can't handle it anymore and just say, I've got to go take a bath.
that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. I see a lot of your pictures on LinkedIn, and because I think you hang out on LinkedIn quite a bit, and you're always next to the ocean,
Yeah.
and I'm always very envious of you. And just because you live so close to the ocean. So I'm guessing, I don't want to presume anything, but my next question has to do with your passion or passions.
Yeah.
So passions, and how did you discover either it or them?
I have many.
Good.
Um,
I like that.
yeah, because I'm curious and I love adventure. So I'm just fascinated with the world. Well, that's probably why I became a scientist. I'm fascinated with the galaxy. I'm fascinated with humans. I'm fascinated with,
Hmm.
gosh, everything, because there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
Water is a very big passion of mine. I because I've had such a strong connection to the Eastern philosophy since my teens, yin and yang, the elements. It just so happens to be water is what I found is
Mm.
my element, and I don't believe that that's by accident, because it, water also symbolizes truth teller.
Mm. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I sort of call it as
Wow.
it is.
Oh my
um,
goodness.
yeah, I don't sugarcoat anything, um, but I try to be delicate if I'm
Yeah.
helping guide somebody who is just rolling in their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when and this comes back also is that I believe that we are all really, if we're awake, if we're listening to the whispers and our inner guidance system, it gives us little directions. It says, go this way,
Yeah.
synchronicities, and things and people and circumstances happen. And when I was must have been 6 or 7 years old, at the school swimming carnival, I decided I could swim and entered one of the races and did my belly flop into the pool and only got about halfway and started to sink. And one of the teachers pulled me out, and I thought,
Oh.
yes, I'm going to be a swimmer. Um, so, as it happens, I was allowed to go to swimming lessons. And what I found there is I was surrounded by champions. I was surrounded by leadership. I was surrounded by strong people who had goals, who wanted to be Olympic champions and world champions. And there was an Olympian in our squad, and some world champions. And that saving grace took me out of the house for 5 hours a day, a couple of hours in the morning, a couple of hours in the evening. And I started to win. And when I started to win, I started to get recognition from my mother. And so you see the pattern here, don't you?
Yeah.
And so that drove me, because as a little kid, all you want is your
Yeah.
parent. Well, Dad left when I was 4, because he
Excuse
got
me.
sick of getting attacked. And then her second husband, who before the age of 10, he was a 2-time Vietnam veteran who was an infantry soldier and killed lots of people. So, and he was an alcoholic. So it was a very interesting household. So moving right along. And so I actually became a state champion. And that, talking about mind movies and affirmations, we were taught to put our goals up on, like, I didn't have ABBA and all the other pop groups on my walls. I had
Olympians.
Olympics, world championships, and that I was surrounded by my vision. And long story short, for household reasons, I did end up giving up swimming, which is why I went into martial arts. One, to defend myself, and secondly, I was introduced to the metaphysics and the yin and yang and Tai Chi and all that kind of stuff, and learning how to channel internal energy. You know, what Bruce Lee did was not fake.
No. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it was real. And when
Yeah.
you can learn how to channel that internal energy,
Yeah.
you got the magic, baby.
Yeah.
And so and I've always felt peaceful around water. And of course, we are 70% water.
Yes.
And so we are very vibrationally cleansed around water. And it discharges all our negative energy as well.
Yeah.
And so water is my happy place. And I will take every opportunity. If I'm, what do you call where you guys are when there's no ocean? It's landbound, is what?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would go sit in the bathtub. I would make sure I'm in a house with a bathtub.
That's my happy place.
Yeah.
That's yeah. That's my happy place.
So of course, water, anything to do with water, but also other passions is exploring the world. I've been so blessed with in my wellness business. I traveled the world. I spoke on many big stages, and I made sure that I would always have time before or after travel,
go
so I
visit.
could learn the culture and just be absorbed by the beauties and the wonders of the world, but also see the other side of life. And as a Western person, we take for granted that we got water coming out of the tap, we got electricity, light putting in our room. We take for granted that we have a full tummy every day. And so you get to see that there's so much more to this big spinning ball in the universe than what we see in our neighborhood.
Yes. And it's a miracle that we're here.
It is.
This is a strange place. It's a really strange place. Yeah.
And I'll put my hands up. I'm one of the strange people in it.
Hot damn and hallelujah, sister. And card carrying and proud. Seriously, yeah. What, because you've traveled quite a bit. So you were born and raised in Australia, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so where would you live? Anywhere else in the world that you have been to, a place that you've been to, or a place that you've dreamt of? Where would you live? Anywhere else in the world?
It would definitely have to be somewhere in Asia.
Okay.
Um,
Any particular reason?
More where a lot of the deep spiritual Eastern practices are, not
Mm.
not in. I went to
Indonesia, Thailand.
I,
Yeah.
I went to Ho Chi Minh City before COVID, before the world shut down, and it was actually a vacation that I qualified for,
Mm.
and I think that city alone has like 13 million people. Like that's almost the population of Australia.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't do busy really well. So so give me if I was in the mountains, there would have to be a waterfall.
Mm.
I wouldn't mind if there's a little cave that I can go in and be quiet in.
Yeah.
And just to be with higher beings, just to be up there vibrating with them.
Yeah.
I got to see the Dalai Lama when he came to Australia, and the presence of
Mm.
that being is just. We have an electromagnetic. Going to talk
Yeah,
nerdy
yeah,
science
yeah,
stuff for a
yeah, yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah.
We have an
Yeah.
electromagnetic field around us because
Yeah.
we do,
Yeah.
and the average human is around 5 feet. Apparently, his is around 12 miles.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm
Like
sure it is. Yeah,
mind
no,
blowing.
yeah, yeah. And you meet, uh
Dalai Lama. What did I?
I don't
How did
know.
I don't know.
I don't
Obviously,
know. People in the audience, Mike, as usual, is running the back end of the show. So he's asking, he's making me laugh just to make sure that
sounds
I
like
crack a
tag it,
smile.
make it.
And yeah, and he likes to make fun of the Australian accent. And every time we talk, he says something in French, and it's not really something, but it makes him feel funny inside that he's speaking my language. Um,
Too
yeah,
funny.
no, I don't that. And then there are some people that they are quite simply magnetic.
You can feel their presence,
Yeah,
and
it's really funny. And sometimes it's just you feel the presence of somebody, just because you're connected to that person,
yeah,
or and you and I could talk about this more than likely for a long, long time, which we're not going to do on live, but um like how many times, you call up somebody, it's just like I was literally picking up the phone.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
I'm
just did that in my masterclass.
yeah,
That I had a slide on
yeah.
that.
I'm extremely telepathic, and anybody in my surrounding that catches, that's like even connected to me in the
Yeah,
slightest
yeah,
will
yeah,
say, Isabel, I was just thinking about you. Yeah, because I called you. Like I thought
yeah,
about you, so I called you out. And the funniest story about that, again, if I can take 1 second. Um, so when I decided to well, I know I turned purple, but purple is my natural hair. So when I decided to let my hair gray, I the color that I used to dye my hair was like the darkest black possible. Like it was a number one. So it's actually called the blue black.
yeah,
And I'm not at all extreme. So I went from having long hair to the middle of my back to shaving my head because I was not about to live the transition in the color. So when, for the gentlemen in the audience, so when we do the transition from colored to exactly from colored to gray, so either we live in the transition in the color, or we go through it in the length. So you pick your battle. So your hair is quite light, so for me, since I am this gray all over, and I would have looked like a skunk, right? Because I'd go like slowly to gray, and it would look stupid. So I just decided to shave my head, to
yeah.
about this. So in the same time, I bought my first house. I took possession of my first house, and one morning there was two of my friends who were coming to paint the house or helping me clean, and install stuff and whatever. And one of them woke up that morning and thought, huh, Isabel cut her hair? And I had told no one. So when she arrived at my house, she said, yeah, Isabel cut her hair. And just because we were connected, so she was, it's not a guess, it's a connection. It's
Yeah.
stronger than Bluetooth, people. That's
Yeah.
so to your point. And I know that as far as the science behind it, you could spend a long time explaining it to the rest of us. But since this show is about you, we're going to go back to you now. So I said that offline, and I say that every week because that's very important to me. The reason that I call this show People, Passion, and Purpose is because ever since I embarked on this journey on LinkedIn and on other social media platform, seems like everybody I'm drawing to myself is either looking for their purpose or they help others do it. So when I decided, because this is a passion project for me, it has nothing to do with what I do for a living. So when I said, okay, I really want to take 1 hour a week and just talk to people and say and see who are you? Because I'm interested in that. I said, well, I can't not talk about purpose.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
Yeah.
So my question is, have you found your life's purpose? And if so, how?
Yes, that's a resounding yes.
Wonderful.
And I have, I've been guided by my little whispers for forever, as long as I can remember. I didn't feel like I was like other people. And there's a lot of people who say that, but you sort of don't come out of the train wreck that I did, still functioning.
Intact.
So one of my life quests was to find inner peace and happiness, because I don't think a lot of people live with that. And as I got closer and closer, by the way, the movie with Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness, is a very powerful movie.
Yes.
Powerful movie.
Yes.
And when I started to discover that I was on the path of my inner peace and happiness, and by the way, I found it, and there was a very distinct moment in life when that happened. I've had about 4 or 5 major timeline events where that your path changed. That has, because I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years now, it's always been about helping people have a transformation. And the real essence of it, because I work with heart-centered entrepreneurs, really helping them have the mindset shifts and the energy shifts to bring their $1 million ideas to life, to give them business strategies and also give them the energetics required to be the person you need to be to have that success. And deep down, it's a lean in moment here, is my true purpose is to, besides planting the seeds of hope, is to dig so deep down into that person's soul to help them, show them that they have all of the answers inside of them, that they have the ability to become a totally unlimited being, that we have the most extraordinary, unlimited potential in this physical body. That's why man's been on the moon. That's why we have skyscrapers. That's why all of these things, they started with a vision. And the person never gave up. We have a light bulb because somebody never gave up. They didn't fail 10,000 times. They found 10,000 ways it didn't work until it worked.
Yes.
And so my true purpose is to wake up sleeping giants. Melissa is one of
No.
those people.
Yeah. Oh goodness, yes.
and 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 then be part of that movement, be part of that
Mm,
vibration of, like, the great awakening, as and many people have called it, and I believe that the earth does cycles, humankind does cycles, and so we are apart from doing a good job on trying to kill the planet, there's also
we're
a huge
succeeding. We're succeeding.
movement of people who are here to bring us all back to high, ultimate pure beings.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you discover that? Was it like one particular aha moment, or was it like,
It's just a knowing. It's
yeah,
just a
it's connecting to who you are?
it's a it's a knowing, and it's also a fire in my belly that is
Mm,
burning so bright, and I am so
mm,
driven that you become unstoppable. Nothing, like, my sister killed herself. Yep, that was a bit of a wobble in my life.
yeah.
But hey, in the middle of that, I was actually part of a speaker summit with CJ, and I rocked up 4 days after she died, and I I
Yeah.
I brought that into the meeting, and it was transformational in that meeting for
Yeah.
other people, and
Yeah.
also was helping me heal.
Yeah.
So, it's we got to get out of our head and get into our heart, basically.
I Amen. That's it. Amen. Is somebody mad at your house right now? Somebody is banging something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got
That's
a builder
okay.
here, and it's echoing up from the basement. That's why I put my little headsets on.
That's
If it was
okay.
my,
It's just all of this sudden, and you're talking about something important, something serious, and all of
I
this in that
know.
air.
I'm so sorry.
Bang. And I'm like, geez, Louise, who's mad, dude? Come on, chill.
No, no. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, no, the timing is perfect. It's bringing impact to your message. Well, I always at the end of every show, I always give the opportunity for my guests to ask me anything that you want. Of course, you don't have to, but Lisa, do you have a question for me?
Oh, Isabel, if we weren't,
Uh-oh.
yeah, if we weren't on this show right now, baby, we would be going deep, deep, deep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we can do a little bit deep. Not too much, but
yeah.
my audience is used to deep. Come on.
Yeah. Oh,
They
well,
yeah,
you just vibe my wavelength. So,
yeah. Thank you. Same
I'm
here.
yeah, yeah. Love, I love who you are and what you
Thank
do, and
you. Thank
um
you.
and I I the question, well, it would be how you came to know that this was probably part of your purpose as well, to help other people talk about their purpose or help find their purpose.
Oh, that's a good question. Um, it wasn't the aha moment for me. It was a long and slow transition. It was an extremely long and slow transition. So I've told this story 17 million times on LinkedIn, and I'm not going to go into all of it, but so I come from the big trauma in my life is my mom passed away when I was 5, and I needed to outlive her in order to start living my life for reasons I've explained before, and I'm not going to go into right now. But um, so the fact that I was this extremely wounded little girl, rightfully so, I was extremely egocentric. And it wasn't about narcissism because I was very generous and helpful, and I was always there to help a hand, to lend a helping hand. Um, but sometimes, and it wasn't my case every single time, but once in a while, my help came with control. I'm um, uh, you know, I very often take leadership positions in my life. I'm the CEO and founder of my company. Before that, I had another company. Before that, I had another company. Um, and I have a leadership role in the hounds. So that's, and I vibe with you in the sense that I'm going to try as much as possible to find the kindest way to say things, but things will be said. And how kind I stop being depends on how well you respond to what I'm saying, right? So,
Yes.
um, but I'm getting to the point now where I'll just walk away because I will not live long enough to waste that energy. So, but it was a long and extremely slow process for me. So the more and more I became who I am,
Yeah.
really, and connected to the essence of who Isabel is and
Yeah.
what this soul of mine decided to come live on this planet this time around, well, the more empathic I became, and the more
Yeah.
in tuned I became, and the more in service I became.
Yes.
So it's and that was one of the reasons why I vibe with your story. It's even though I'm extremely lucky and extremely grateful. I don't come from a violent family at all. Our trauma was very different. And my dad, God bless him, did the best that he could under very
Yeah.
difficult circumstances. But to tell you the truth, he didn't do half bad. Um, it was just healing.
Yeah.
And the more I gave myself that gift, that was extremely painful, extremely uncomfortable. Um, but the more I connected to that, and the more it was about this.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So,
There's so
and
much
even,
power in surrender, isn't there?
yeah, and even in my business, I mean, of course I charge money because I live on this planet, and unfortunately I cannot pay my mortgage with a great smile and a hug. They want money. Fuckers. I don't know why, but they lend me money and they want money back. They're
Yeah.
I don't know. They're weird, these banks, these bankers. Um so, that's part of life.
Yeah.
And the more money that I have, the more I charge for my time and my expertise and my help, well, the more I can help people with it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's it.
Yes. Beautiful.
I yeah. So that was a very interesting question. And so, the thing too is I spoke about my mother a few times. So I'm trying to always answer in a different angle because I don't
Yeah.
want to repeat the same thing
Yeah.
17,000 times. That'd be boring for the audience.
No, it was a beautiful answer. And
Thank you. And yes, well, you and I will very soon grab a one-on-one where it's not
mm,
being taped and it's not live on LinkedIn and YouTube and on the hounds,
yeah.
and we'll go extremely deep. I have a funny feeling.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that, when people start to understand that, because you talk about the telepathic and the intuition and all of that, is that there's no space and time between frequency and vibration. And
No.
so when when we're in a conversation, like, we are connected, and you can feel
Yes.
that energy as well. And that's
Yeah.
and then you're actually talking from your true self. You're not talking from that
Hmm.
superficial, um logical
Yeah.
prefrontal thing.
Yeah.
That,
Well, sometimes it's okay to be there too, right? Sometimes
well, it
that's
has
what
to. It's the logical part of you.
exactly.
So you've got to, it's the analytical
Yeah.
part. You've got to make decisions and so forth. But
Exactly.
on the deep level, it's a nice place to hang out in.
Yeah. And I find that you have to, well, you don't have to, but I prefer to tap into my natural abilities and actually make a living out of it
Yeah,
because
100%.
there are certain things that only I can do.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's the thing. And you
Yeah,
can
there is
do
there is no competition out there. It's
no,
not a
no,
crowded
no.
market because everybody is a
Exact,
unique individual. And so when people
exactly.
embrace that as well,
Yeah.
the right people will be saying, "Where do I pay?"
Yes, exactly. I sent that to Mike a long time ago, and we can go after this, but I was telling Mike the difference between the $500 client and the $50,000 client. So the $500 client, he's running a big tax, and he says, well, like I'm investing this money in you, and like I hope that we can find a mutual way that it's beneficial for everybody, and blah 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 blah. And the $50,000 client said, payment sent, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the truth,
Yes. And
because the
so,
person who has $50,000 to spend on you got $50,000 by not beating around the
yes.
bush.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
And they do the work.
That's the added bonus. That's the added bonus. Lisa, this has been a first of many and an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And guys in the audience, I will see you next week. I don't know who's on next week, but it's going to be somebody fabulous. So join us next week, guys. I'll catch you then.
Mwah.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.